Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of The Power of Books. My name is Timo Jübner. I'm the founder of Timo's Notes, and every week I interview popular non-fiction authors about their best-selling books. The goal of the show is to introduce you to new books and to provide you with helpful advice and practical tools. My guest today is Evan Carmichael. In March, back in 2020, I opened my Instagram inbox and had a video message by Evan. He reached out to me because he wanted to send me his new book, Built to Serve. Back then, I had around 14,000 followers, and it blew my mind that someone like Evan would reach out to me. Since then, we've stayed in touch a little bit over the years. And when I saw that Evan had a new book out a couple months ago, I had to get it, and I asked him to join me for an episode. So here we are. In his book Momentum, which Evan wrote with lightning speed, he teaches you his personal mindset shifts, actions, habits, and strategies to create and sustain momentum and use it to your advantage when starting your next project. So now let's get right into our conversation. Enjoy the show. Evan Carmichael, welcome to the Power of Books. I'm so excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining me.
Let's go, Timo. I'm excited, man. Happy to be here.
We're going to talk a little bit about your book Momentum today, actually. And you know what's crazy? The background story of this is crazy. When I read it, you said that your initial goal was to write the book in 8 weeks, but you ended up writing it in 5 days, which just blew my mind. So tell us a little bit about how that book came to life and why you wrote it in such a short time.
Blew my mind too. Didn't think that was possible. My first book, Your One Word, was with Penguin Random House, and it took me a year to write the book. And I think that's probably more normal for authors. It takes about a year. It takes about a year to write the book and then publishing and all that stuff. So it takes a while for books to get out. I met an amazing woman named Kira, who I've since become a business partner with in our own publishing company. But I met her at an event, and she said, I help channel books. Like, okay, what does that mean? And it's like, well, I'll show you sometimes. Like, well, why don't we do an Instagram Live together? And so she came on Instagram Live, and we channeled the book. And in my head, I didn't have another book. I didn't want to write another book. This wasn't even like I want to write this next book, and I've got this big idea. I had no idea. I did not want to write a book. When people ask me, when's your next book coming up? I'd say, I Built to Serve. That was my recent book. That's all I care about. That's still the book. And then I did the session with Kira, and through that, this book came through, Momentum. And she gave me a challenge at the end of it to write the book in 8 weeks. And already I'm thinking, like, 8 weeks? Holy cow, it took me a year to write the first book. How am I going to get this thing done in 8 weeks? And then she asked me, okay, well, when are you going to get started? And it's called Momentum, right? So how do I say, oh, I'll start it in a week or 2 weeks or 4, right? Like, if I call this something else, then
Right.
then I could delay. But it's called Momentum. It's like, okay, I guess I got to start now. I gotta live, the message instead of just talking about it. I gotta actually do it. So I just started writing, and I didn't know. I mean, up until that point, I didn't even have a book inside me. So I just started writing about momentum. And then I went on a walk with my wife, and then started planning out my next day of writing. And it kind of evolved as I went through 5 days of writing, and I wrote the whole thing in the 5 days. And the book's kind of divided into 2 little sections. The first is like the main content of the book, but then as I go, I'm also sharing my writing journey and where I stopped writing and how many words I wrote in each session. And I think it's a little bit easier to write a nonfiction book that quickly than fiction, because a lot of the stuff in here that I ended up writing about are things that I've been talking about on interviews, kind of like here with you and other shows that I've been on, and people that I've helped. But dude, it was surprising to me. If you told me at the beginning, even though I'm the believe guy, he's like, hey, Evan, you're going to write this book in 5 days. Like, I don't believe you. And yet here we are. So it's amazing what we can accomplish. And I think for most people, the biggest thing, it's called Momentum, and the subtitle gets a little hard to read, but it says the only thing you're missing is momentum, which is what I often tell people. It's like, you've got so much great potential in you. The only thing you're missing is momentum. And so that's the goal of this book, to help people try to unlock that.
And it's, as you said, you kind of show the power of momentum yourself with the process of writing the book. And what I really liked about the book is that you share so much. It's like you take the reader with you on the journey of writing the book, not just the contents, because you kind of share your thoughts, I was about to like stop writing for today, but then I kept going because, I'm going to talk about this next in the next chapter. So I gotta have to go. So I really love the writing style and the way you share like the writing process itself in the book too. It's very different to most other books. So it was a lot of fun to read. And
Cool,
it
man.
also
Well,
gives...
you read a lot of books, so that means a lot coming from you.
I haven't read a book like that before, and I finished it a couple days ago, and I gotta say, it left me with so much energy. And actually, there were a few things that really stood out to me, and one of them was the 2% difference, because that's a great concept. So could you share that with the listeners?
Yeah, so the idea with 2% difference is when we come up with an idea, like I'm going to launch a YouTube channel, I'm going to write my own book, I want to start a Instagram book account, like I want to do whatever. We all have these ideas of what we want to do. The first thing that we typically do is start planning, researching, planning, who's done it before, who can I model and learn from, all these ideas, and we create this giant list of plans. And what we're trying to do is plan to the 100%, which is like, that's what our final destination is going to look like. How do I plan to get my goal? And then we end up waking up the next day and you look at your plan, you're like, I can't do that. I thought, what? I'm not going to do that. There's no way I can do that. It's not even like us telling our friends or our spouses, or it's us telling ourselves that we can't do this. And so the problem is we used our energy, our mojo, our best like high vibes on planning instead of on doing. Where again, the biggest thing people are missing is just momentum. Planning doesn't really count as momentum. You have to go and do something. And so instead of worrying about planning to get to 100% of our goal completed, the 2% difference is just start with the first 2%. What's the first 2%? And we don't care about getting to the end goal. We just care about getting started. So that was me in writing the book. Okay, well, I'm going to write the book after this Instagram Live. I'm going to start right now. It's easy for all the thoughts to start to overwhelm yourself. And I did. Like, I don't have time for this. This is not on my plan. I'm busy. I feel like I'm going to be a bad father, a bad husband, a bad manager, a bad CEO. Like, I don't have time for this, right? And I share all those thoughts in the book too. So you can kind of peek behind the window. It wasn't like I really was desperately wanting to do this going in. And then I just started writing. So like if anybody out here, you want to write your first book, cool. The 2% difference is write the first page. And it's okay if it sucks. If you want to start a YouTube channel, the 2% difference is record your first video and it's going to suck. Awesome, cool. But more important than planning how to make a book or planning how to record a YouTube video is to just start doing the thing and you build momentum. If you want to start building a healthy habit, you want to start working out, right? This is where we often get overwhelmed. Like, I want to work out. I want to look good next year. I want to feel comfortable naked or whatever we want to be able to do. Cool. So it starts off with this very simple concept. But then the doing becomes really complicated because as you start to plan and research a health journey, right? It's like, oh, well, do I do weights? Do I do cardio? How much of each? Do I do classes? Do I hire a coach? How much am I supposed to weigh? Am I going to hurt myself? Am I going to injure my back trying to do this thing? Maybe I should go do soccer or pick up a sport or pick up basketball or, but do I need a partner to run with? Like, can I overtrain? And how about nutrition? Like, do I need to drink, am I drinking too much water, not enough water? Do I need to go carnivore or vegan? And all of a sudden it's like this is what happens. We get so overwhelmed with all the potential options, which then leads us to try to plan some more. But then you can't understand all of the various options. And then we end up getting, this is great. I'm not doing it. I'm out. I'm done. And then you stop before you even started, right? And so the key is 2% difference. If you want to start a health journey, get down on the floor and do 5 push-ups or 10 or 2, right? Is it going to make you extra strong? No, but it's the first step. And most people wait a decade to take the first step. And so that's what the 2% difference is all about.
And I think, as you said, the key point is really, you're not going to have to figure everything out before you get going because there's no way you're going to do that. As you said, with the book, you didn't really know like all the details, all the chapters and everything for the book. You just started writing. And then after your first writing session, you kind of planned it. And after each writing session, you kind of knew where this is going to take you. So, yeah. And you share a brilliant story about the 2% difference from an event of yours too. So I highly encourage the people to get the book. And just for that story, it's worth it. It gave me goosebumps.
Wow, exciting. Thank you.
So once we have momentum, the 2% difference is about getting started, kind of. And I wouldn't say that getting started is my main problem, for example. So I often catch myself, I start a lot of different things, but then I end up having a lot of open tabs. And how do you make sure not to end up with a lot of different open projects because you just dive right into them? Like, how do you make sure that you finish what you start and not take on too much different stuff?
So, the book is divided into 4 main sections. The first is how to develop the mindset for momentum. The second is how to start taking action and get some momentum going. The third is how to maintain the momentum, which is kind of what we're diving into now. How do you maintain the momentum? And then the fourth one is some of the more advanced strategies for the high achievers out there that might be a little more difficult to connect to. In that section, since you've, I guess, recently read it, which of the 7 in the sustaining momentum resonated the most with you, or was the most difficult to apply and understand?
I don't have all of them at the top of my mind, so I gotta check. But let me see. I don't have all of them in my head, to be honest. I think was the one with focus on who you are serving. That was in that section. That one really resonated with me because, as a creator, we often tend to kind of compare ourselves to others and lose the focus of the people who are already here, who are already following us and enjoying the stuff we have, showing love. And we try to kind of focus on the stuff we don't have. So that one really resonated.
This is one of the things that helped me back the most because my biggest fear is disappointing people. My biggest fear is that I'm gonna get on stage or I'm gonna come to an interview and I'm gonna let you down, and I'm not gonna have an answer, and I'm not gonna know what to say, and I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste the audience's time, and that used to hold me back a lot from keeping the momentum going. I might start one thing and then there's an opportunity and then say no or cancel or back out or hope they would cancel on me because I would be afraid that I would disappoint people. So the thing that always saved me, that I still use today, is focus on who you are serving. Focus on who you are serving instead of who you aren't. We, in the comparison game of starting a YouTube channel or starting an Instagram account or getting on TikTok, it's always easy to look at, but look at whoever. Look at the number one, look at what Joe Rogan's doing, or look at what Evan Carmichael's doing, or look at what whoever else is doing. And the game of who you're not never ends. There's always somebody who's better than you at something, right? The only thing that you're best in the world at is being Timo, right? The only thing I'm best in the world is being Evan Carmichael. And there's always people who are better than me at all these other skill sets that I want to learn and get better at. And that's great because we never want to stop learning. You never want to have it all figured out. We want to be able to climb forever. But if you're only living in the world of I'm not enough and who you're comparing yourself to, I think that's what will often lead to burnout. That's what lead to people quitting. That's what lead to people killing their momentum, as opposed to saying, I am helping people, right? Focus on who you are serving instead of who you're not. So in my first video on YouTube had 3 comments on it in a year. And one was my mom, and one was my sister, and then one was some random guy. It's so in a year of my first video going up, when people were like, I didn't get any comment. Man, my first video for a year only had 1 comment by some random guy who I didn't know. And I saw that and hey, somebody commented on my video. This is great. And so if you can focus on people, they post something on Instagram and they have 40 views on their video and you say, oh, I'm such a failure. Only 40 people saw this video. Well, imagine if you were going to go speak at a library or a school event or something, 40 people showed up. Wouldn't you be excited? Wouldn't you be nervous? Wouldn't you be like, oh my God, there's 40 people here coming to see me? But because it's online, we feel like we're just a failure because somebody else posted one and they got 40,000 and you're sitting here with 40. And so I always just focused on who I was serving, those 40 people. 40 people watched this video. And maybe for one of those people, that this was a life-changing video. That for one person, the thing that I said was the piece of advice that they needed to move the needle forward in their life. And that always gave me more fulfillment, more happiness, more positivity, knowing that I am helping some people and that I can continue to help more. And when you start doing the work to help and focus on those 40, they take you to the 40,000. Like if you do a great job nurturing your community, then they take you to their friends and their friends and their friends, and that's how you build up and grow. So yeah, I think the comparison game can often hold us back. There's some advanced strategies around that can work, but when you focus on who you are serving instead of who you're not, I think it leads to a lot more happiness, which leads to a lot more momentum as well.
Yeah, but it's so easy to get caught up. As I said, I could really relate with what you were sharing about yourself too, and what you just said about, impacting one person. The video just, changing one person's life is also referencing back to another thing that you mentioned, the little why. Sometimes the big why we have is not really, it doesn't really apply to the situation or to the moment. It's hard to grab or to grasp, but then you can focus on the little things, like impacting just one person. So I love that.
Yeah, big why, little why is another one. Again, a lot of these strategies is because I needed them myself to keep in momentum, and I've used them with other people, entrepreneurs who I've coached, to say, okay, try this, and it's helped them stay in momentum too. So that's also partly why I think a nonfiction book, if you're an expert at something, is a little easier to write, because it's just you sharing all the experiences you've had. But big why, little why is, as entrepreneurs, we have a big mission. Like we want to do big things. You want people to read more. You know how much reading has helped your life. You know how important books are. And you name this show The Power of Books, right? Like you want people to pick up books because that's a window into a new world that people can go and explore. And that's amazing. And I'm sure, like, if you knew that every human, now we have 8 billion people, all of them read a book in some part because they watched a Timo video, that's insane. That's amazing. And there are some days where we wake up and we can actually feel that, and it pulls us forward to say, okay, I need to play a bigger game. I need to do more. I need to make more videos. I need to get content out there. But there are some days when we wake up and that feels too big. Like, who am I to be the book guy? There's so many better book people. I can't hit 8 billion people. Like, I can barely hit 40 people on a video. It's like it just feels too big. So some days the big vision is inspiring, and some days it's actually counterproductive. It's actually disempowering because we feel like we can't do that. Who am I? Imposter syndrome sets in. So on those days, that's where the little why matters, which is one comment on a video, which is one email that somebody sends you. It's one Instagram DM that says, hey, Timo, you introduced me to this book, and man, it opened, like, you've gotten some of those, 100%. And those mean so much. And it's holding on to those. So on the days where you feel like you can't go and change the world, it's like, well, I helped that person. And that makes me feel something. So some days you need the big why, some days you need the little why. It's knowing kind of how you're feeling on that day, but you have two levers to pull, where I think most people only lean in on the big mission, and they're afraid to even tell themselves that, or admit to other people that some days that big mission actually feels disempowering and too big. That's where you go to the little why.
Totally right. Yeah, as I said, it's rare that people share it when, they really change through video or book recommendation or something like that. But when they do, I remember, I guess I can say I remember possibly every one of them who told me, because as you said, it keeps you going as a creator, because that's what you're doing it for. But oftentimes you don't get to know who you're really impacting because people don't share it. But if they do, it really drives you. That's right.
And listen, that's where I'd like to throw a little homework assignment for people, and we can do it, for your audience too. If there's a smaller creator who you follow who's had a meaningful impact, tell them. Like if you come to my channel at this point on YouTube, 3.5 million subscribers or whatever right now, I don't see every comment that goes on a channel. And in fact, I like seeing more the negative ones of feedback, like how to get better, as opposed to just positive ones. But for the small creators, if there's somebody who you follow that's a small creator that is not getting that's not getting many comments, just leave a comment. Let them know why you subscribe to them. Let them know why you follow them. Let them know one insight that you learned from them. Because legit, your comment might be the difference between them stopping or not. Like your comment might give them 6 more months of momentum to keep going and building this, because it said, wow, like somebody cares about the thing. And that's a big reason why a lot of creators end up quitting, is because nobody ever tells them that what they're doing is helping them. Even though it might be really helping you. So any of the small channels that I like to watch, I'll always let them know. I try to train that in. This is one guy who's making, I like League of Legends. This guy making League of Legends content. And at the start of his career, like nobody was watching him, nobody was even commenting. So I would pop in and say, "Hey man, love the video. Thanks for the inspiration." And like it just means so much. And if you're trying to make a difference in the world, you spending 8 seconds to leave a positive comment on somebody's Instagram post or YouTube video or TikTok or wherever, honestly could be the difference between them quitting today or keep going.
Totally. I totally second that. And I think it's great homework for listeners. So to get to one of the advanced strategies, and I got to mention it, we got to talk about it. You have it in your background, the bag of Doritos. And you have, this strategy is the damn the Doritos. So most people might be wondering, is this an endorsement or what is it about? But you openly share that it's not. It's actually challenging yourself. So why do you have the Doritos there? What is it all about?
So the last section of the book are weird things about me that may not be as easy to connect to, but it's geared more towards the really high achievers. So this is a pretty big bag, right? I have it in the background of my office. And people often ask me, why is Doritos sponsoring your videos? Can't you get a healthier sponsor? Like you're promoting positivity and belief and health. And like, why is Doritos there? This makes no sense. And I say, hey, if Doritos knew why I have this bag here, they would never want to sponsor my content. My strategy is called Damn the Doritos. And the idea here is when you are on a health journey, most people say, get rid of the junk food from your house. Throw it away. Don't be tempted. Clear it all out. No ice cream, no candy, no chips, no whatever. Just toss it all away so you're not tempted. And I think it's a great starting point. I think that's like when you break your leg, you go on crutches and you have a cast and you have to go slow. But the ultimate goal becomes to walk again and to run again. And so same thing, if you can only win when you're in a perfect environment, then as soon as you leave your environment, you're screwed, right? So if you're on a health journey and you've only taught yourself that you can not eat junk food whenever there's no junk food around you, well, what happens when you go on a vacation? What happens when you travel? What happens when you do an office Christmas party? What happens when you go to a friend's house? Like it's over because you've trained yourself that you can only win in a certain tightly controlled environment. And so when I understood this, and this was less prescriptive of me like telling people what to do, as more just me, this is what I do. And a lot of people seem to resonate with it. My weakness is Doritos. Okay, I want to eat this bag right now, man. I'm looking at it. My mouth is watering. It's like I want to eat this whole bag right now. This giant thing. Like I could spend. This is it.
Nobody will know.
and I'm not going to. And I keep this behind me all day as a reminder that I want to be stronger than the Doritos. That the Doritos don't own me. I own the Doritos. And so I'll look at the Doritos and say, damn you Doritos, like damn the Doritos. So the strategy is damn the Doritos. And we all have the version of Doritos in our lives, whether it's health or something else. You even mentioned like your tabs open of keeping you distracted, like damn that Google tab, like you're stronger than that. And so any decision, I want to make decisions that make me feel proud and strong. And anytime I'm making a decision that makes me feel weaker, especially if it's a long-term ongoing thing, I want to personally eliminate it from my life. I tell the story in a book of a friend of mine, Liron, who once he heard about Damn the Doritos, he said, well, my weakness is sugar. I wake up, I have coffee with sugar, and then it's like sugar all day. I need my sugar. It's my weakness. And so I'm going to try it for sugar. It's like, okay, cool. So the next morning he woke up, he had his cup of coffee, and it's like a cup on a saucer, and he put 2 sugar cubes on the saucer, and he just drank the coffee while like looking at the sugar. And his wife is like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? He's like, damn the sugar. The sugar doesn't own me anymore. And this sounds like a weird strategy. Like if you follow me on Instagram, I'll sometimes go into grocery stores when we're shopping and I'll like yell at the cookies and yell at the, like, I'm stronger than you cookies, Oreos. I'm stronger than you, fuzzy peaches. Oh my God, the fuzzy peaches. And it makes me feel better about myself. As much as other people think I'm crazy, it makes me feel better about myself. And so I want to do strategies that make me feel stronger. And so as much as I want to eat this every day, I don't. And it's a reminder every day for myself of I'm awesome. And I think the more we can have that in our environment, again, not at the early stage. Like if you're really weak and you can't handle it, you know you're going to open this right away. Okay, you broke your leg. You're on crutches. You're in a cast. But the ultimate goal becomes to be able to have it in your environment and not succumb to it because it's a reminder of how awesome you are.
Mm. Yeah, I love that strategy. It makes perfect sense to me. And I thought about, what could I put at my desk or somewhere, because I like the challenging yourself openly, and I totally relate to the feeling. It's like if you don't want to go to the gym but you still go. It's the same kind of thing. You feel good afterwards. So you want to eat the Doritos but you say no, you're gonna feel good. But I gotta ask, how long did you have that exact same bag of Doritos?
Oh wow!
There.
Wait, let me see. This is probably expired. I can't even see the date. It's like been rubbed off.
Oh.
Is there another one? No. It's been a while. But I still want to eat it, dude. Like, even though I know this is expired, I still want to eat. Like, I feel like I want to open the bag and just the smell right away. The Dorito smell starts, it's like in every cell of my body. And I'm already, So like, it doesn't matter that it's expired. Yeah. I still want to eat this thing.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, it's been here a while. I think when this is like the second bag, like the first one got destroyed somehow. Eventually, like it starts to fall apart.
Yeah, sure.
Then it doesn't look as good as a prop behind. But this is like, we went to Costco to buy this one because it's like the half human size as opposed to like just the mini size. So it looks small when it's behind me on my wall, but it's pretty big. And again, just that reminder.
Love that. That's great. So we're gonna talk a little bit quickly about reading, because you share in your stories, you always have like several books, at least 7, I think, going, and you read a different book every day, right? So how does that work for you, and why do you choose to do that?
I like microdosing on ideas and on books, and this is I don't think I wrote about that in Momentum, but this is another like weird thing about me that maybe people can connect to. Here's what I found with a book: if I read one book at a time, then I would be really like, if you wrote a book, Timo wrote a book, cool. I feel like I'm a part of your world. I feel like the way that you think and you see the world is different, and now I'm starting to see the world the way that you see the world. I think like the best authors, that's what they do, is you start to see the world different. Like, what's the power of books? Well, there's all these experts with all this amazing knowledge, and now you get to learn from them, and you start to see the world a little bit differently now because of them. But what I would find is, if I read a book in one book at a time, and I'm a slow reader, so if I finished it in like 2 weeks or whatever, I would be like in Timo's world for 2 weeks, like seeing all sorts of different things, amazing. And then I'm done with the book. And so I would put it on my shelf, and like, you've got amazing books behind you on your shelf. And then I'd pick up another book, and what I'd find is I would stop thinking like Timo. And now I'm starting to think like the new author.
Yeah.
And what I found was I missed thinking like Timo. Like, I wanted that to last a little bit longer. That one author who I was with, I wanted to continue to think like them for longer, because as you read a book and you start to shift your thinking, you start to see things in your environment like, oh, like, I wonder how Timo would handle that. Or even like you said, I wonder what my version of Doritos would be, right? We start to see opportunities that pop up in our environment, but only typically during that window when we're actually reading the book, and then we kind of forget about it. So I wanted to extend that out. I wanted to be with an author for longer and think like them in micro doses for longer. And so I'll read 7 to 10 books at a time, and I'm a slow reader, and the goal is at least 10 minutes a day of reading. Sometimes it's just 10, and sometimes a little bit longer. And depending on how, like, some books are super easy to read and get through, and some are like dense and like, what did he say? And I got to read it again. I like read Wayne Dyer. It takes me 10 minutes to read one page and try to figure out what he's saying, where other books are designed that you can just go a lot faster through it. But it just sticks with me longer. And I found that it works. And I don't regret having kind of gone through it too quickly. And then I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it's just me or it's how my mind works, but I used to feel bad about it. It's one of those things like, you can't read 10 books at a time. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I don't know. I'm just going to try it. And I found that it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting how different things work for different people. And, I'm actually going to try it because I understand your point, and I don't know if I feel the same. I got to figure it out. So I'm gonna test it.
Yeah, it actually came when I used to have really bad allergies, seasonal allergies like grass and trees. I like every year from March until November, I'd be on 2 allergy pills a day. Super allergic for whatever reason. And then a guy who was one of my students in my programs came to me and said, "Hey, you should try." It wasn't called microdosing. It's called I forget what it's called. But the basic idea is you figure out what you're allergic to, and then you go to the doctor, and they inject a little bit of that into your skin. And I would go every week for a year, and then every month for another 2 years. So I did 3 years of immunotherapy. That's what it's called, immunotherapy. And so I went to my doctor, and we did the allergy test. And every week for the first year, she would give me a little bit of tree, a little bit like this is syrup that she just puts in my arm, and then I'd have a little mini allergic reaction. And then every week, and then later every month, it would become stronger. The dosage becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Where now I haven't taken an allergy pill from going 2 a day. I haven't taken an allergy pill in 2 years. And I thought, it's like I'm kind of getting used to this little microdosing thing that now becomes part of my environment. I wonder if I can do that for authors too, and for books as well. And so that then became the test. So like, I like this, this is kind of cool.
Seems to work.
And I also start to miss the book. Like if I haven't read that book since last Sunday, it's like, oh wow, I get to read this book again. This is cool, and it shifts my thinking once again. So yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts, how well it works, if it does. I think if there's a timeline or pressure, like you have to get this book done because you're going to do an interview with an author, like it's good to have the book done. But if it's for your own learning and journey, I think microdosing on books is a good thing.
Interesting new concept, yeah. One question that I ask everybody who's on, because obviously as we talked, it's about the power of books, this show. So what are like 2 or 3 books that have impacted you the most?
I mean, all the books that I've written, I think you should be a fan of your own work. So obviously Momentum's had a huge impact. This is a lot of my advice in here that I still need myself and apply myself. But I've had to take like my books off the table and talk about other authors. One of my favorite books of all time is called Radicals and Visionaries. And it's actually not that great a book. And it's out of print. But if you can find it, it's great, at least as a souvenir. But what it did was it told the stories of famous entrepreneurs in 3 to 4 pages. And so like Jeff Bezos' story in 3 to 4 pages with a picture and some quotes, and it's like super breathable, easy to read. And what I used to do with that book was I was microdosing. I was reading a chapter, which is like 4 pages with a picture and quotes, like every morning. And that would make me feel like I have a little bit of Jeff Bezos today, I get a little bit of Oprah tomorrow, I get a little bit of whoever, and it just gave me more inspiration to keep going, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning especially, but it's hard to, it's some days you wake up and you're on fire, and other days it's like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. And so having that little bit of injection, it's basically what my YouTube channel has become. Like my YouTube channel is now, okay, you got Steve Jobs today, you got Oprah tomorrow, you got all these people in your ear. So my YouTube channel has become a better version, I think, of that initial book. But that was the book that kind of started off that whole idea of, hey, what if I just started every morning with a successful entrepreneur? So it's called Radicals and Visionaries. Yeah, if you find it, you can check it out. It's not that great a book, but it started the whole journey, so it has a lot of sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
Another one was Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week. Had a huge impact on me, not because my goal was to work 4 hours a week, and Tim doesn't work 4 hours a week, right? But it was because it taught me the idea of delegating. And that seems normal as an entrepreneur. Like, yeah, we need to delegate. We got to build a team. We got to, but this was the way that Tim put it was the first book that it kind of made sense to me. And I started then I hired my first assistant because of that book. And that then freed up a whole bunch of my time. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I can go do more stuff. And so I think, Tim, 4 Hour Work Week has gone through a couple of revisions, and it's still probably really valuable and helpful for people. But it hit me at a time that was really, really, really impactful.
Awesome. Interesting. I gotta say, for our work week, I read it just this year, and some parts are outdated, especially the nitty gritty stuff where he recommends like certain websites or stuff like that. But it's still the overall principles and the four sections he has, they are still very applicable today. And as you said, delegating is one of the biggest things I took away too. Awesome. Well, Evan, thank you so much for joining me today on the show and sharing all this with the listeners. I highly recommend checking out the book. If you want to start a new project yourself, whatever it is, this book will definitely help you get going and keep going. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, Evan. And to all the listeners, see you next week.
I love it. Thank you, Timo. And listen, guys, if you found value from Timo in his content and his videos and his Instagram and his book reviews, like, just let him know. Like, use this as the opportunity to let him know. Tell him your favorite episode. Tell him your favorite book. Tell him a lesson you learned because of him. Like, it means so much. And if you can start to train yourself that, hey, those 8 seconds to leave a comment really, really make a difference. So that's the homework challenge for everybody listening and watching. Appreciate everything you do, man. Thanks for having me on. And can't wait to see your book out there in the world too.
Thank you, Evan. I appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the show to never miss a new episode. Also, check out our YouTube channel if you prefer video podcasts. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.